there was a real period in my life that I had to struggle with, we can win or I can be nice. Pick one, right? And different people pick different things.
Right.
For the type of material world climbing, you know, that I did for a big chunk of my life, it was military minded. You know, we're gonna get that flag to the top of that hill, and you are gonna help or you're not gonna be here, right? So that's one mindset. And then after I got the flag to the hill a couple of times and kept getting the flag to the hill and realized that you don't feel good and you've scorched earth, you know, around you, and you're like, nobody's really happy, you know. And then I started to have to question that mindset. You know, I had one of the greatest runs in Hollywood history, you know, like 8 #1 movies, all over 100 domestic, biggest global movie star, all of that, and my family was miserable. You know, and I had equated winning with happiness, right? It's like, we're winning. What is y'all problem? You know, you know, and the transition from product focus, like military minded, get to the top of that hill, and then I shifted into a mindset, and it was really my kids who brought me out of that. I shift into discovering, like, well, damn, people really care about how they feel, right? You know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
as crazy as that sounds,
no,
like, you know, my father wasn't concerned with how I felt. You know, he wasn't concerned with how he felt. He was military minded. You achieve the mission. And there's 2 possibilities. When I give you a mission, there's 2 possibilities. 1, you complete the mission, or 2, you're dead, right? You know, and that's what my father was saying. I grew up with that. Oh, cool, right? I actually had to discover feelings, right? And start, like, I used to have to really focus. Oh, okay, how's this person feel? How's this person feel? Not what do I need them to do, and not they're wasting our time right now and we're losing time and we're gonna not finish this mission, right? But there is a balance between the mindset of achieving and loving kindness that at this point in my life, I've actually discovered the magical balance, but it's really hard to get people to let go of the attack and defend achievement mindset and trust the care and concern for your fellow humans as a way of creating higher production.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Learn from the wise women and men all my life. Like 9 for my top 10, top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Will Smith, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, fly high.
For my career, my whole approach to building an image and to building something that young Black kids and kids around the world could aspire to, one of the major aspects of that is I was strictly only creating images that were of the highest intelligence, the highest power. I needed to be as high and fly as high as I could possibly fly so young Black kids would see that kind of flying, and really all kids could see that type of flying as not something that only white movie stars could do. For me and for what my role is in the community, the reason I chose emancipation now is more than ever, we have to understand the reality of where we came from.
Yeah.
The problem is there's an absence of knowledge about the history. It's really difficult to elevate without the knowledge and wisdom being presented in a way that the youth among us in their most powerful form are also educated. It's like reforming policing. Everybody agrees.
Rule number 3, show love and kindness.
I grew up with violence in my home, so I developed, a really acute emotional sense, out of defense. I just needed to make sure that my father was okay. I needed to make sure things were going well. And I just became really hypersensitive to emotional movement in a room as a defense mechanism. And then as I grew and as I started to develop that, that heightened sense that started out as defense, as I settled down and, came into a deeper understanding of my power and my desires in the world, it was easier to connect to people in a loving way. It transferred easily from a defense mechanism to an ability to love and care for people.
Our childhood experiences form our adult desires.
Absolutely.
And I feel like now people are starting to hear that in the conversation where they're like, oh yeah, because this happened with my parents.
Yeah.
Now I feel like this. How do you think you were able to, because we've talked about this before when you've talked about your mother, your father, what you learned from them. Tell us a bit about what you learned and how you were able to process it positively and engage with it rather than create a negative story from it. Because a lot of people may see violence and react differently.
Yeah. I think there's always an aspect of us that when we feel unloved, in any capacity, in any relationship, when we feel unloved, when we feel mistreated, when we feel somehow disrespected, it's a natural reaction to want revenge. And I think that's what happens with most people, specifically in our most vulnerable stages when we're children, and we haven't done anything to deserve that kind of treatment. It's really hard for the ego to not click into revenge, and once I discovered that mechanism, once I saw that most of us walk around with, that we want revenge against that mistreatment. It's a little piece of that with all of us. So the problem is that when you seek revenge, you destroy yourself, and that's the paradoxical conflict that we all live in.
Yeah.
Someone has mistreated us. We want revenge, but if we take it, we hurt ourselves more.
It's crazy how it's
right?
designed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is the, as Radhanath Swami referred to, the perplexing situation that we find ourselves in. And the only answer is loving kindness. And most of us don't want to hear that. It's like, I'll take my chances with revenge. I'm gonna take my chances with punching this dude in the face or cussing this girl out or whatever it takes, but I can't do loving kindness.
Yeah.
And for me, I had such a beautiful example of loving kindness in my grandmother when I was growing up. I always knew I wanted to be that. The way that she loved and cared for people, I didn't realize that her giving was connected to her peace. That was something that I got a concept of later, but I always knew that was my example, and I think that's the critical part. We need an example. Somebody has to be an example. Human beings are creatures of example. You got to see it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's really where I am in my life right now. I want to show what it looks like to be loving and kind and giving and forgiving. And I just want to model those virtues as best I can.
Rule number 4, be authentic.
One of the beautiful parts of social media that I think is a beautiful evolutionary thing is that social media demands authenticity, right? So social media pushes you more and more into having to reveal what's true.
Yeah,
and because if you don't, you know, TMZ is going to, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
You know, so it's it's a beautiful thing. And I'm actually enjoying the push, right? Nobody's happy who doesn't get to be themselves, right? So the eyes and ears of the world are starting to demand more and more authenticity, where you got to say what's true for you and live or die by what that is. So I'm enjoying the social demand for authenticity.
Yeah.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, change your heart and mind.
When we move through the world, you are confronting defiled and degraded minds. And it's never going to be any different than that. It's the way God designed this place. You are going to come across people that have made poisonous conclusions and false beliefs, and they've got insane narratives running through their minds. And as you walk through the street, you're coming in contact with that all day long. So in trying to build systems, because that's what's going to happen now. We're going to build new systems, right? And in building our new systems, you're still going to be confronting those same defiled and degraded minds in these circumstances. The problem isn't completely in the system. The problem is in the hearts and minds of people. It demands that our attention begin on our hearts and minds. As a country, I would hope that a part of what we're learning right now is the destructive aspects of loveless, godless leadership. Don't succumb to lovelessness no matter how much evil you face, because you poison yourself and you poison your own community when you succumb to lovelessness.
Rule number 6, create something memorable.
I'm always trying to create something that people are going to remember. You know, it's, you know, for me, movies are about ideas, and you can have all the action you want, and, you know, you can have great chemistry, and you can have all of those elements, but the important thing is, like, what are you saying? When you get to the end of a movie, it's like, people will be like, okay, why did I just give 2 hours of my life, you know, to my life and my money, right? Yeah, you know, why did I do that? And to me, it's really critical to be saying something, you know. And at the core of this Bad Boys movie, sort of the premise of what we're talking about is grow or die. Right? And it's like you have to stay committed to growing. You have to stay committed to finding the next phase and the next chapter of your life. If you cling to a dead thing, you're gonna die along with it.
Rule number 7, open people up.
For me, when I look at Hollywood, you know, Hollywood is an interesting microcosm of the world, you know, and it's like the reality is any human being that has a power position, they're gonna look out for themselves. And you can't begrudge somebody that, you know? It's like people are fearful and people are desirous of things for themselves. So when people have a power base, you know, like you take care of yourself and you take care of your own, you know, so the question becomes, how can we share? Right? And it's always going to be difficult for somebody when sharing means they have to have less. For you, if sharing means you're going to get more, sharing's a good thing. But when you asking somebody to share and you know they're going to have less, that's difficult. You got to expect there's going to be, you're trying to appeal to people's deeper human kindness and their altruism. And it's really difficult to do that if you're gonna snatch it and grab it away from them. You see it with kids all the time. Share with your friends. Like, Mom, if you snatching it from them, telling them to share with their friends, that's not gonna go well, right? So for me, Jada and I debate all the time on the way that you have to open people up to sharing things that they've either acquired gracefully or stolen. Either way they get them, they consider them theirs.
Rule number 8, be inspired.
To be in a position to, at that age, to start tasting your dreams. And yeah, it's double-edged. It was a double-edged sword at that time, but I got my first $1,000 at 17 years old. Wow. And they handed me 10 $100 bills for rapping. And it was crazy. And I knew that I was never, ever gonna do anything that would stop somebody from handing me 10 $100 bills, you know? And, you know.
It's like Word Up Records, or this is
that was Word Up, yeah. And I was like,
yeah.
$1,000, right? So, it was helpful for me in the sense that it immediately curbed my vices. Like I was 22 years old before I took a drink. I've never smoked weed. I haven't done drugs. Like I so enjoyed getting $1,000 that it knocked out, everything other than I love women, so that was the only thing in my life that I struggled with. But
and the song was "Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble."
So yeah, right, exactly. But it really knocked out a lot of the potential vices that I could have fallen into.
Rule number 9, have discipline.
When you look at the athletes, right? There's a certain extreme mindset that you have to take on. I don't know that you have to take it on. What I do know is that in this society, we worship that mindset that, it's the can you become Michael Jordan without that mindset?
Yeah.
And that is a really powerful, difficult question. It's like most people can't sustain the mindset.
Yes.
That, fortunately, because it can be so destructive, but most people can't sustain that level of discipline to manifest the things that they want in their life. And there's a poisonous edge to that kind of discipline. And I've been to the edge of that kind of material world discipline in my mind. And I can tell you, you can have a whole lot of stuff and be miserable out there on that edge. And I found a much more comfortable and productive space in my life. And you still need that discipline.
Yes.
But it's like when you use that kind of power to achieve things, it's like there's a brutal reckoning.
Yeah.
There's a brutal reckoning at the end of that.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is have fun.
We're gonna make a big AF mess. Oh, I'm the first African-American slow-mo guy. All right, I'm hooked up now. You see that? I got my, I'm rocking the damn sleeve out. That's what we do around here. That's hot. I'm ready. So what do we do? So I want to break some stuff in slow motion. On the ballot.
Yeah. Oh, that was like butter.
Huh? What y'all say? What y'all say? That one should look good because it's like I peeled his whole cap.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and just get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of actually following through on your goals. That's not good enough. No, not for you, Believe Nation. We gotta do something. But when you write it down and you create a specific plan of action for the next week, that number jumps to 91% chance of you following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like leaving a comment on this video, it jumps to 95%. You need to follow through on your goals. So what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your specific plan of action for the next week? Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you.
I was really hooked on chess. My father taught me how to play chess, and he taught me I was probably 8. And he trained me for 4 years, and I was 12 the first time I beat him at a game of chess, and once I beat him, he never played me again. I loved it, and I started training. Jada got a grandmaster, Maurice Ashley, who's the first black grandmaster, and she got him to come and teach me for 3 days. So he taught me this thing. He said, so listen, he says, when you look at a chessboard, here's what I want you to do. He said, in your mind, when you look at a position, put the pieces wherever you want them. Pick them up and in your mind and put them where you want them. Where do you wish they were? Right? And I was like, well, yeah, but it can't go. He's like, that's the trick of your mind. I used to watch that all the time with people fighting Mike Tyson. They were walking into the ring defeated. They were already defeated. I think it was Mike's first fight out of jail. He fought a guy, big dude, named Pete McNeely. For Pete McNeely, this was his shot at everything. The bell rings, and he charges across the ring and throws 10 haymakers at Mike like nobody I had ever seen, right? And I'm like, yes! Exactly! That's your shot. That's your shot. He burned everything in the first 60 seconds, and then Mike caught him. If you say in your mind, I want this, oh no, it can't, you're done. You're dead. You're training yourself to not even be able to imagine what you want. How are you going to stop it in your mind? In your mind has to be the wildest, freest place where you have everything you've ever dreamed. Jaden said a thing. Jaden ran up to me after the jump. And I'd never seen this look in his eyes. He said, Dad, I now understand the difference between me and you. You always have one more go. People get to their limit. And he said, when the helicopter took off, I was at my limit, right? He's like, I would have said, no, put it down. He said, but you had one more go. Your mental and emotional limits are way before your actual limit. So you always have to keep a stash of one more go. your own mind stops you in places that the world is going to move out of your way. That's why I love the line in Pursuit of Happiness.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
Don't start by telling yourself what it can't be, what it can't. Let your mind go fully to the impossible dream of where they could be. Put them where you want them. And now one move at a time, you work backwards to figure out how to get there, and it's way easier. Put the pieces where you want them.
I realized that to have the level of success that I want to have, it's difficult to spread it out and do multiple things. You know, it's in order to be world class, and I've made a decision. I want to be world class, and it takes such a desperate, obsessive focus to excel on the level that I want to make movies. You know, I was Star Wars when I was young. I sat in the movie theater and watched Star Wars, and I just couldn't believe that movie made me feel like that, just floored and just stunned by the creativity. And I'm realizing that in order to move people in that way, in order to touch people in that way, you really got to focus with all of your fiber and all of your heart and all of your creativity. The concept of improving lives runs through the center of everything I do. And then I realized that the way to improve lives is to continually improve yourself, right? So with that, every morning when I get out of the bed, you know, I haven't fixed everything in the world yet, so there's always something to do. And in this film, I read an interesting quote. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, he said that good people have to get out of the bed every day and try to empty the ocean with a ladle, right? And I thought that was, you know, I knew that was profound, and I paused for a second, and I said, all right, what the hell is a ladle, right? Right, so then, you know, I touched it on my iPad, it's ladle. Oh, it's like a big spoon, okay.
As we
it's
say,
like a
Philly.
soup spoon, yeah, it's like a soup spoon. I was like, why are you a soup spoon? So trying to empty the ocean with a soup spoon, you know, as the mentality of how you wake up every day to try to do good in the world. So for me, I'm really driven by continually trying to elevate my mind and elevate my spirit and care for my body, and to be able to love as many people as effectively as possible with this mystery of life that I've been given.
For me, I never did anything for money, right? So it was never about money. My experience has been when people do things for money, you make bad choices. Find what you love, and then you'll learn how to make money doing what you love. When I changed careers, I was never changing to something for money. I was changing to something I love more, right? And that to me, that's really the only way to keep the passion. If you have two choices, one is playing the piano, and another one is bowling. And you can make more money bowling, but you love playing the piano more, you gotta play the piano. It's like you'll tear yourself apart if you're not doing the thing that you love most in life. And you know what it is right now. Right now, there's something that you love more than everything. Whatever it is that you love crazy has to be the thing that you dedicate your life.
You have to be able to be vulnerable in front of anybody. You know, you have to be comfortable looking silly, you have to be comfortable making mistakes, and you have to break the thing inside of you that doesn't want people to see, right? Because as soon as you allow people to see, all of a sudden you get access to things that you didn't realize you had access to, right? For example, like a thing I used to do is when I was probably 18 or 19 years old, I got in touch with those blocks. The camera hates emotional blocks. Like you put a camera in somebody's face and they're uncomfortable about delivering the emotion. It looks fake and you feel it. You immediately know it's not real, right? Especially look at the size of this screen. And in a shot, that whole screen could be just your eyes. Right? So it's like you can't hide discomfort, uncertainty, so you have to be able to get comfortable, you know, just being anything! Anything that you have to be for the role, you have to be comfortable being it! I gotten probably 2 weeks into my preparation for the film, and my father was diagnosed with cancer. So we just started talking about love, time, and death. And it was some of the most open and powerful conversations that we'd ever had. And they gave him 6 weeks. And he lived for 4 months. So about 3 months into the 6 weeks, I go to see him one day and he said, "Man, this shit is embarrassing." And I said, "What, Dad?" He said, "Man, you tell everybody you're gonna be dead in 6 weeks. 3 months later, you still hanging around." Laughing is the elixir, and that was another thing that my father taught me. He was joking all the way up to the end. Like laughing, you have to be able to laugh at everything. Yeah. And for me, the beautiful part is that's my natural color on the spectrum. I naturally go to comedy, and when I'm looking at something, I'm always trying to find why that's funny. And, it's been really, really helpful in this experience and even just this point in my life. Remember to laugh, and spend time with people that make you laugh. Like, that is hugely important. As a child, my parents always told me you could be whatever you want to be. You could do whatever you want to do. And, that office, that position, the highest office on the face of the earth, it was something I heard my parents saying it, but I didn't totally believe it. Yet I went out in the world and I carried myself and I held my head high and I stood there and I looked people in their eyes and I talked to people as if I was deserving of everything that this planet has to offer. So I really want to say to children out there and to people who are watching, Confucius said one time, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right." So I want to stand here before you, and as I hold this award, I want to give love to my wife, and I want you to keep in your heart, just know that you can. The greatest thing in my career has been the constant commitment to putting something in the world of value, not putting something in the world that makes me look hot, Yeah. So I think as long as you can stay focused on delivering your art and delivering yourself and delivering your energy and delivering your ideas for the world to be better. I've always been really product oriented, It's like, I want to win. When I do something, I want to win, I want it to be number one, and I want to smash it. And I had a period, I have a daughter now, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and she got me and shifted my focus from product to people. It took a couple of years, but as soon as I got knocked off of product and started shifting to people, the whole world opened up for me again, and acting opened up in a whole new way, to not go into day one of a movie trying to figure out what everybody has to do so we win, versus opening up and every person's a new, it's a whole new world.
Meaning the characters you play or the people you work with?
Both. Absolutely. Generally when I went into a product, when I went into a meeting with a director, my focus was, can this guy win? Can this girl win? And that it was a pathology that got broken for me a couple of years ago, and then releasing that and just wanting to connect with people and wanting to grow and wanting to get new ideas and have new experiences that don't have to have an outcome. It just opened up a whole new world for me, and I fell in love, and then I couldn't imagine what else I could do in acting that could add so much to my life other than acting. There was one
concept that I would suggest to people to take a daily confrontation with is fear. The problem with fear is that it lies, right? So fear tells you, hey, you know, if you say that to that girl, she's gonna know she has you, you know, and she'll never really be attracted to you if she knows how much you attracted to her. Don't say that, no. How we get her is when she walks by, ignore her.
Right, it's a swoop.
You know, it's like,
pop it on your shoulder.
Fear tells you like that, right? You know, so, you know, for me, the daily confrontation with fear has become a real practice for me since about three years ago. I went skydiving in Dubai, right? And skydiving is a really interesting confront with fear, right? So I gotta stand up. I gotta stand up. All right. So all your friends, what happens? You go out. Oh, sorry. I dropped my thing. Yeah. So what happens is you go out the night before, and you take a drink with your friends, and somebody says, "Yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow." And you go, "Yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow." Yeah. And you go, "Yeah," and everybody goes, "Yeah," right? And you go home by yourself. You're like, right? You're like, well, yeah, I mean, they was drunk too, right? So maybe they not, maybe, I mean, we don't have to go. We don't have to do it. So then that night you're laying in your bed and you just keep, and you're terrified. You keep imagining over and over again jumping out of an airplane, and you can't figure out why you would do that, right? And you're laying there and you have the worst night's sleep of your life, but you still have the hope that your friends were drunk, right? So you wake up the next day and you go, down and you say where you were going to meet and everybody's there. You're like, oh, all right, cool, right? So you get in the van and you don't know that your friends had the same night that you had because they're pretending like they didn't. They're like, yeah, man, my uncle's a Navy SEAL, and this is gonna be great. I've been looking forward to this. And you're like, oh my God. And your stomach is terrible. You can't eat and everything, but you don't want to be the only punk who doesn't jump out of this airplane. So you get there, and then you have this safety brief, and you're standing there, and the guys will tell you, well, if the chute doesn't open, what's gonna happen is well, why the hell, what could happen? That the chute wouldn't open, right? So you do a thing, and what you do is your first jump, you're attached to a guy who is going, he's going to walk you out. So you go, and you get there, and there's an airplane, and nobody's stopping. Everybody's still going. So you get onto the airplane, and you're sitting there, and it's extra because you're sitting on some dude's lap, some stranger. You're sitting on his lap, and it's like, you're trying to make small talk. Yeah, man. So you be jumping with people all the time, huh? Right? So, and then you just want to make sure, you got kids, right? You got people you need to see, right? You just want to make sure he's serious, right? So you get in there, so everything's normal. So you fly and you go up to 14,000 feet, and you notice there's a light. It's red and it's yellow and green. Right? So right now the light's red. So then you start thinking at some point the light's going to go green, but you don't know what's going to happen, right? And you wait and it goes yellow and the light goes green and somebody opens the door, and in that moment you realize you've never been in a freaking airplane with the door open. Right? Terror. Oh, sorry, I'm spitting. Oh, sorry. No, terror, right? So you go, and then, if you were smart, you sat in the back so you don't go first, right? And then people start going out of the airplane. And you go, and the guy walks you up to the end of the thing, and you're standing, and your toes are on the edge, and you're looking out to death. And they say, on 3. And they say, 1, 2, and he pushes you on 2 because people grab on 3, right? Right? And you go, and you fall out of the airplane, and in 1 second, you realize
that it's the most blissful experience of your life. You're flying, right? It doesn't feel like falling, right? It's like you actually are kind of held a little bit by the wind, and then you start falling, and there's zero fear. You realize that the point of maximum danger is the point of minimum fear. It's bliss. It's bliss. And you're flying. Right? And you're doing that. And then 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 40 seconds, and you have enough time to just kind of be like, oh, shit, that's that building. I like that one. Oh, you can see the ocean. Right? You start doing all of that. And the lesson for me was, why were you scared in your bed the night before? What do you need that fear for? Just don't go. Why are you scared in your bed 16 hours before you jump? Why are you scared in the car? Why could you not enjoy breakfast? What did you need that? The fear is fear of what? You're nowhere even near the airplane. Everything up to the stepping out, there's actually no reason to be scared. It only just ruins your day. You don't have to jump. And then in that moment, all of a sudden, where you should be terrified is the most blissful experience of your life. And God placed the best things in life on the other side of terror. On the other side of your maximum fear are all of the best things in life.
I have to show up at work with the right attitude and with the positive energy. And I actually had a t-shirt made that said positive energy is a part of your job description, right? So the idea that I want to show up with the right energy, I want to show up, we're all here, even now we're all here, we're trying to feed our families, we're trying to have a good time, we're trying, this is an important part of our lives. Our time is all that we have. So to me, it's hugely important to deliver positive energy in a way because it's viral. So if I come with positive energy, then someone else is going to pick up on the positive energy and you're going to take it home to your families. And, so for me, it's just hugely important to approach everything and everybody at every turn with the most positive, loving kindness that I can generate.
I look at the world through a lens of comedy, right? So my natural reaction is always, no matter when something happens, and I can't even help it, it's why is that funny? So even at a funeral, I can't help but think why that's funny, So it's extremely helpful for me just psychologically that no matter what's going on, I can't keep my mind from finding jokes. So it's a beautiful way to stay joyous and positive.
Do you get nervous or afraid?
I live in complete terror. Everything for me about this business and about what I've been trying to build and what I've been trying to do with my life keeps me in terror. I am deeply motivated by fear. I'm surprised you say you live in fear. How do you deal with that? Do you turn to somebody for advice? Do you meditate? How do you get over that? I'm trying to develop a more realistic perspective of what this business is. I told my mother this the other day, and she thought it was hilarious. I said, when I was 15 years old, my first girlfriend cheated on me. Oh. And I remember making a decision that nobody would ever cheat on me again. And the way I was going to do that is by being the biggest actor on earth. Huh. Right? So there's been this weird psychology that I've always felt like if my movies are number one, my life is going to work out great.
I've always been the type of person who I thought of myself as resilient, that I could always make my way back. Being stuck in the past it makes it extremely difficult to find your way out. And
future thinking for me has always been the way to get over difficult times, to be able to look over the darkness to a potential time of light. Rarely do I look backwards. I'm always looking forward.
So both your kids are in showbiz too. Is that worrying for you, or?
No, it's, to me, showbiz is not separated from the rules of the universe, right? So whether you're in show business or, you're selling cars or you're farming, you're not separate from the laws of the universe, and all of the rules are the same everywhere. So for my children, the most important thing is that they be encouraged to fully and thoroughly be themselves, no matter what. And when you have yourself and you're thorough and confident in who you are, you can survive anywhere.
Pride goes out to 190 countries. Hundreds of millions of people see it, but it's not in theaters. So for two artists, what is the unique satisfaction of this?
So for me, it's really experimental. What I learned when Independence Day came out. So I had been doing The Fresh Prince, and that Friday before Independence Day came out, everybody was, Will. That Monday was the first time that anybody ever called me Mr. Smith, right? So there's something about that big screen, that massive blockbuster that does something inside of people emotionally. So I'm curious as to see, because Netflix is doing all of the other stuff.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the same production process, the promotion, everything is exactly the same you would do for a gigantic blockbuster. And the question is, will the emotional resonance, the sort of nostalgic residue a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, still be there with people not experiencing it in the overwhelming fashion of the cinema?
So this is an experiment and we'll see how it works out.
We'll see how it goes, yeah, but it's definitely the future.
I got the call from Ridley, and he said, I've got a gift for you. And he sent me Concussion, and I read it immediately, and I remember thinking, this ain't no gift. I was like, I'm a football dad. Right. For me, it was a beautiful screenplay, but it opened up a huge conflict for me. Yeah.
Did you know about what had happened before? Did you know the story a little bit of him?
Vaguely.
Okay.
Really vaguely, I knew. My son played football for 4 years, right. And during that time, I had never heard about the concussion issue at all. At all. Okay. So it was part of what really inspired me and made me want to do the film, forced me to have to do the film, is because as a parent, I had no idea. Right. I had no idea that there was an issue with repetitive head trauma in football. Right. So it was quite a revelation.
For me, a personal confrontation with death made me see the value of time and the fact that the only elixir is love. So the time that you spend has got to be in preparing yourself and giving and receiving the most amount of love you can. My mission is to improve lives. So I want to do things that put positivity and positive energy and love into the world.
Finding your purpose, like that's a big one. Just keep trying stuff. Just keep trying. You got to keep going. And in terms of finding purpose, it was helpful for me to realize that just because everybody in Philly believed one thing and one set of ideas, and everybody in Philly was in a certain paradigm, as soon as I got out of the city and out of the country, I realized there were people that didn't give a about stuff that was the most important thing in the world. Try, experiment, meet, travel. That was a big part for me, and that's a lot of what you're gonna see on my YouTube channel too. Like, travel is huge.
Fail early, fail often, fail forward.
You know, it's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. You know, when you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure, because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed, but they extract the lessons from the failure, and they use that, the energy, and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. You gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're gonna fail. That's the reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit, getting to your limit, getting to your limit. You can't lift that. You can't do that. Until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment, and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward.
They were open to Planet Hollywood. I found myself in a room with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and Sly. And I was like, oh my God, I got these 3 guys in the room. And I was like, okay, I want to be the biggest movie star in the world. And I need you guys to tell me how to do it. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, he said, if your movie is only big in America, it doesn't matter. You'll be a movie star only when you're a movie star in every country in the world. You have to travel, you have to go, you have to meet the people.
Thanks for the tip.
Facts, son, facts. That became the way that I started looking at movies. I wanted to be in every country in the world.
In that part of my career, I refused to do anything that wasn't in the best interest of the goal I had set for myself. And there was probably a 12-year period of my life where I didn't take a drink. I didn't have a drink, where I didn't go out on the weekends. I was so set on my goal. It created a serious circle of protection and elevation, because I refused to do anything that wasn't in my best interest. It's hugely important that if you have a dream, that you have to dedicate your life to it, and every hour of every day has to be dedicated to bringing into fruition the things that you dream about. I just saw this Rumi quote that I love. Set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames. The Philly translation of that is, don't be hanging with no jank-ass jokers that don't help you shine. The prerequisite for spending time with any person is that they nourish and inspire you. They feed your flame. Look at your last 5 text messages. Are those people feeding your flames or dousing your fire? Put your phone down for just a second and look around. Look to the people around you. Are those people throwing logs on your fire, or are they pissing on it? The people that you spend time with are gonna make or break your dreams. Everybody don't deserve to be around you. You gotta defend your light with your life. So who are the people in your life that are fanning your flames? Shout them out, tag them below. I went to Catholic school up to 8th grade with all white kids and probably 2 or 3 black kids, but predominantly white school. And then I went to my neighborhood high school in 9th grade that was 99% black kids. So the first day that I walked in to 9th grade, I walked into the lunchroom, and it was like 500 kids. And to this day, I don't know why I did this. I'm sure it was because I was nervous, and I have a thing with fear. I don't like being scared. So I'm sure I walked in, I looked around, and I said, excuse me, can I have y'all attention? Can I have y'all attention, please? He's here. He's here right now. Thank you. Thank you. And people was kind of looking, and there was this one dude, and he was sitting there, and he looked up to me, he said, man, don't nobody give a that you here. right? And I said, hey, just give me 10 minutes. Your girl gonna care, right? And he was like, all right. And you gotta watch that nod. That nod is not a good nod. He was like, and I was like, okay. So I'm walking up the steps. We're out of the lunchroom, and I had forgot about it. So we're going, and I'm walking up the steps, and he had taken one of those combination locks, and he put the lock in the palm of his hand and put the loop around his knuckle, and he was holding the lock in his hand. And as I was walking up the steps, he cracked me in the side of my head with the lock. And I went down, I was out, I don't remember nothing. I still got the lump on my head. You can't see it because I got my hair, but I still, like, there's still a lump. So I remember I fell down, I hit my mouth on the steps, all of that stuff, you know, so I went up, so I'm in the principal's office, all of that, the police come, and I got the ice on my lips, and I'm sitting in the principal's office. And my father comes in, he sees me, and you know, I'm telling the story now, the police are there, and I remember I saw this kid, they put him in handcuffs and took him out of the school. And I'm looking, sitting in the principal's office, and I'm watching the police take him out and put him in the back of a police car. And I just couldn't believe it had escalated to a kid being removed from school. And I was laying in my bed that night, and I was just feeling like shit. And I had the recognition that I had caused this kid to throw his life away, right? And he was kicked out of school, and I never knew what happened to him, but I have a sense that it didn't go well beyond there, and I felt a deep sense of regret and a deep sense that I had caused an emotion in a person that made them do that. And that feeling of regret turned into a sort of a fear of how much power I had. And I was like, everything I say and do has that kind of effect on other human beings. And in that moment, I decided that I would never walk into a room and do anything other than inspire and uplift and enlighten people and help people to be the greater versions of themselves. And I would never do anything that would cause people to rile up the darkest, dirtiest parts of people. I only wanted to enliven and enlighten and inspire. And I remember laying in my bed that night, and I made that promise to myself, and I made that promise to God. And it's something that has completely shaped how I approach people, how I approach moments, how I walk into rooms, how I deal with every human being on this earth.
So a dude screamed to me the other night, "Hey, Will, I want to be an actor, man. I want to be an actor just like you." You know, usually people say stuff to me like that. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, you can do it. Just give them an encouraging word. But I was just sitting here thinking, and it dawned on me, 99% of people that say stuff like that are not willing to do what it takes to make their dreams come true. The Marines have a saying, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that's just real. At the center of bringing any dream into fruition is self-discipline. You know, something as simple as food and eating. It's not about your body as much as it is about your mind. It's getting command of your mind to be able to choose actions that are in your own best interest. Every day we are choosing that's not in our own best interest. Right? So if the world is attacking you and the world wants to fight you and the world's trying to hold you down, so you're going to kick yourself in the balls? So you're going to stop yourself from getting what you dream. Self-discipline is the center of all material success. You cannot win the war against the world if you can't win the war against your own mind. I was just having a debate with a friend of mine, and we got stuck on the difference between fault and responsibility. She kept talking about how something was somebody's fault. It's somebody's fault. And I was like, it
It don't matter whose fault it is that something is broken if it's your responsibility to fix it. For example, it's not somebody's fault if their father was an abusive alcoholic, but it's for damn sure their responsibility to figure out how they're going to deal with those traumas and try to make a life out of it. It's not your fault if your partner cheated and ruined your marriage, but it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. Fault and responsibility do not go together. It sucks, but they don't. When something is somebody's fault, we want them to suffer. We want them punished. We want them to pay. And we want it to be their responsibility to fix it. But that's not how it works, especially when it's your heart. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. As long as we're pointing the finger and stuck in whose fault something is, we're jammed and trapped into victim mode. When you're in victim mode, you are stuck in suffering. The road to power is in taking responsibility. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone.
Always challenged for that, right? Like, oh, you're soft, you're different than the other rappers. Your positivity was always challenged. Like, people always wanted you to justify being positive.
Being positive,
so
right? Absolutely. Yeah, no, that was a difficult time coming up because it's like I'm from Philly, right? So during that time in Philly, it was Joe Frazier and Rocky. So a fist fight was common. So you grew up,
right?
You grew
those hand skills.
Chuck D he called it Pug City. He's like Pug City. He's like Chuck was like, damn, you can't go to Philly without getting in a fight.
Right.
So it's like I grew up in that. So for me to it was always difficult for people, to say I was soft and I was, my music was cotton candy and all of that. So I always wanted to fight to try to prove myself. But fighting yourself to maintain positivity is the hardest fight you ever gonna have, right? And it's like that struggle to just stay my course, to be the person in the world that I wanted to be, no matter what people said. And it was I started to call it offensive positivity, right? Like I wasn't gonna be on defense with my positivity. I was gonna be on offense with it. Me and Jeff had come out with our smash hit, Parents Just Don't Understand. We made a bunch of money. We won a Grammy. Album was triple platinum. I had motorcycles and cars. I called the Gucci store in Atlanta and I was like, hey, will y'all close it down if I bring my friends? And I'm smiling, but that's stupid. We released our next album and it was like a flop. It was a tragedy. It went like double plastic. I had spent most of my money, like all of it. I spent all my money. And I didn't forget, but I didn't pay the IRS. In my mind, I wasn't like trying to avoid paying taxes. I was just like, oh damn, they need their money. The IRS took all of that stuff. So I was like, broke. Being famous and broke is a shitty combination because you're still famous and people recognize you, but they recognize you while you sitting next to them on the bus. And the stuff they ask you to sign on a bus, like, oh, can you sign my baby? That's a Sharpie. I probably shouldn't just write on the baby with that. Oh, you too big to sign my baby. Well, no, so I signed it. So I was like laying around and my girlfriend was like,
dude, we're not doing this. Like, you're not just gonna be laying around this house all day. You're gonna go do something.
And I was like, what? What am I supposed to do?
Go where people is doing it.
Where are people doing it?
Go to the Arsenio Hall show.
Just go stand around at the Arsenio Hall show?
Yes.
That's stupid. So I went to the Arsenio Hall show and I met a dude named Benny Medina. And Benny Medina is the real life Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, except he actually went from Watts
to Beverly Hills. Same basic concept, way shorter distance. I meet Benny and he pitches me the idea for this show and I'm like, I'm not an actor. I'm like, cool. And he said, hey, I want you to meet Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is producing with me. So I find myself at Quincy's. And there's actors and artists and celebrities and politicians. It's like everybody's at Quincy's house. It's like The Wiz without the costumes. So Benny walks me in and introduced me to Quincy. I'm like, hey, Q, what's up, man? He's like, hey, man, I saw your music videos. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Tell me your rap name again. They call me the Fresh Prince. All right, good. That's what we're gonna call the show. And he handed me a screenplay for a failed Morris Day pilot. Like, I don't have the time. So I need you to do this. I need you to go ahead, take a few minutes, take 10 minutes, study the script, and I'm gonna clear all the stuff out the living room, and we're gonna have everybody sit down in the living room. We're gonna do an audition. He had movers that could reset his furniture. I was like, this dude is real. So he goes out, tells everybody, come on. And I was like, hey, Q, hold up, man, hold up. I'm not ready to do no audition. And he said, all right. Well, what you need? Tell me what you need. Just set the meeting for a week and I could do it. He said, yeah, Brandon Tartikoff, the head of NBC, is out there. I'll get him the schedule for next week. And then you know what's gonna happen? Something gonna come up and then he's gonna have to reschedule. Oh, yeah. So 3 weeks from now, Q, we can do it 3 weeks from now. I said, yeah, 3 weeks from now be good. Or you could take 10 minutes right now and you can change your life forever. And I was like, it then. Yes, give me 10 minutes. I said yes, and I let it rip. And I got to the end, and everybody's clapping. Quincy looks at Brandon Tartikoff, the head of NBC. Did you like it? And Brandon said, yeah, I liked it. Quincy says, no, did you like it? And he's like, yeah, I liked it. He's like, good, you're his lawyer. Draw me up something right now.
It gets more and more difficult. I used to be able to eat whatever I want, and then in 6 weeks, I could get in any shape I wanted to get into, but that's not the case anymore. We're around the 12 or 14 week mandatory training to do anything, but I love it. I enjoy the discipline of it. For me, working on your body is the beginning of everything. Your mind starts to work better, you're a better husband, a better father, a better friend, and life is just better when you care for your body at the highest level.
You told the famous story about how you kind of backed into acting Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you start making these movies, and I forget that Bad Boys actually came before Independence Day, right?
Yeah,
and then
Bad Boys.
Independence Day just was like one of the biggest of all time. Like, what was that transition like for you to be like a real actor and like the biggest actor in the game?
No, it was that was like the first real goal. Like that in terms of setting goals. I was like, I want to be the biggest movie star in the world, right? And up until that point, everything was like, it was fun and it was happening and we were creating in Jeff's mom's basement and it was successful. But that was like, when I moved into acting, that was the first time I started applying skill to my talents, right? And I look at skill and talent separately. Like, Pete, you're born with talent. It's like there's certain things that you just do naturally. You were gifted with a talent and you have it. But skill is acquired through discipline and I've never seen myself as particularly talented. Where I excel is I'm willing to die in the process of acquiring skill. Like, it's, when I put my obsessive mind on something, I'm just dying. Yeah, right, exactly. It's
You're not gonna outwork you. You also said ridiculous is sickening work ethic.
Sickening work ethic, exactly. It's like, so for me, to be a movie star was the first thing that I ever really wanted like that and set my
You was like Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Bruce Willis.
All of them. I was like, because when I looked, I always felt like there weren't a lot of people I saw do things that I felt like I couldn't do. Right? When I look at people and I see things, I don't feel like I can't. Whether or not I will is something different, but I don't ever feel like I can't.
Anytime I put something in the world, I'm always connecting to an idea. I'm always asked, why am I making this? Why? So I'm putting this out in the world. Why? So with concussion, Dr. Bennett Omalu was deeply connected to tell the truth. And he said that truth doesn't have a side. And that's what he kept saying. I thought that was such a powerful idea. That there, you know, whose side are you on? Are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'm trying to tell the truth. The truth doesn't have a side.
Rejection is everywhere. You know, we all deal with the.
You don't anymore.
Oh my.
Sure you don't.
Me worst of all. Me worst of all. You know, I think the idea of rejection is relative. I mean, if you take a kid in a small town and somebody posts something negative about them, and all of their friends laugh, you know, that's the worst rejection a human being can experience. It's not, you know, for that kid, it's not any less than for my kids who read it on a comment page. You know, it's emotionally, it's the same. My kids grew up in this world, so they're much more acclimated to the difficulties of this world, but it doesn't make it emotionally more difficult or more painful than for any other child who has to deal with it. Something that probably a lot of people don't know about me, I don't f with the ocean. The ocean is like the ultimate woman. She is beautiful and she will nourish you, but she will tear you to shreds also. The ocean is my worst fear. I don't know what it is or where it came from, but there's something about not being able to breathe. I've tried snorkeling before and I was hyperventilating. My 50th birthday is this year. I just wasn't going to go into the back nine of my life without having attacked my fear of the ocean.
So we're about to scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef. You know, I've never scuba dove. I've never been scuba divish before.
So we're taking a boat ride out and we go through a storm.
According to you live from a storm on a boat. We're headed out to a dive site of... Oh my goodness! Did you feel that? Did you feel that? Back to you in the studio, Sandy.
Probably 25 years old in my mind, and I knew that I would be here one day. So I'm ready.
This is stupid. All right, I'm not going.
Come on, this will be the hardest part of your day.
I know, right? Is it okay to punch sharks in the face? You're like, back up with your shark ass. Back up with your shark ass. Shark ass, back up. Shark jab, shark jab. I got it. First fish we see is a shark. Come on. I'm not doing another dive today. The question isn't, can you handle the situation? The question is, can you handle your mind? Can you manage the thoughts and the emotions that are trying to poison your progress? Forget managing the situation. Manage your mind. Training your mind to sit calmly in the eye of the storm.
You know, growing up, my mother and father and grandmother demanded no less of me than to represent the family every time I stepped out in a way that was helpful to others.
The city gave him his start. He's worked hard and the city has worked hard for him.
Knowing that this man is from West Philly opens eyes for them. It opens their lens.
When you're in Philadelphia, you see a lot of things in the youth and the neighborhoods that not always positive, and I think seeing that will motivate you all in its own, because you're always going to want something better for yourself.
You don't have enough role models out here. You got too many kids being led astray, thinking the wrong things is what's good. They grow up too fast. And you need people that's putting that out there, like, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. It's so much easier being yourself.
When you are a young kid and you walk into school And you see images like this, it makes you aspire to want to be that person, right? What he's done in his life vibrated all your overseas to touch you and to touch people around the world. But this right here will affect people. The main thing you did, let me tell you the main detail. You got Will's ears right.
This man who is an icon is looking at GLA. So my kids every day will see this image and know that you can be whatever you want to be. This is a man who grew up in Philadelphia, went to Overbrook High School up the street, was a part of this world, that he now is looking at us and telling my children, you can be whatever you want to be. It's just so powerful.
If you're a kid here growing up now and you see this every day, it can give you a real understanding that this guy is me. You know, he lived here, he grew up here, he had the same chances as me, the same possibilities as me, the same everything. And he's being painted on a wall because he's done something incredible with his life.
We're about to make history. We are doing an IG Live to the International Space Station. Oh yeah, and see, now that's the thing. Look, I'm doing it like that. Everybody can't do an interview to the International Space Station in house shoes. In terms of like the simple basics, right? So you on Earth, people have to poop. You're like, it's important to poop on Earth, right? So when you're up there, I see your microphone floating. I need to understand what you do with that. Like, how do you manage that?
Well, are you sure you want to talk about this problem? Because it is pretty challenging. I like to say you can have a good day in the bathroom and you can have a really bad day in the bathroom, and you hope for the good days. The bad days can be challenging.
On Earth, we talk about the Mile High Club. Has anyone, attempted for research purposes, has anyone attempted, the process of procreating the human species in space?
All right, Will, similar to the last question, I'll just say, are you sure we want to talk about this on the interview?
I'm just, I'm a man of the people, Drew. I'm a man of the people. And it's important to me to ask the questions that the people want the answers to.
I'll just say, as far as I know, I have no knowledge of those tests being done. But I can imagine that would present some unique opportunities.
The movies that I made while I was making The Fresh Prince, so it was The Fresh Prince during the winter, and then the summers were Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black, so it was like, it really captured a time. So it's very difficult. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love being able to make people smile and cheer, over that. But I also am going to boldly go to new creation. Even something like The Decision. I had the two screenplays in front of me for the Independence Day 2 and for Suicide Squad. So I had to choose between the two of those. And even the choice of going to Suicide Squad, nothing about the qualities of the movies, but the choice of trying to go forward versus clinging and clawing backwards, So I do want to aggressively go forward and do new things and create and hopefully be able to stumble upon a new heyday.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.